And once going from Gothics down to Lower Wolfjaw, you can just start cruising. I was somewhat ahead of schedule, but not at the same time. I realized that I was starting to go slower. And it had a lot to do with the calories. I was just moving slower from the upper Great Range, but I was really happy to be on Gothics because to me, going from Gothics to Lower Wolfjaw is just a breeze, and I don't even think about it. You're just going one over to the next 20 minutes to 30 minutes per peak. And so I started going down Gothics and hit Armstrong, not even thinking, just popping right over it, took my picture, kept going down, hit the ladder, went down the ladder, went up Upper Wolfjaw, and I started to get more tired, and then went down Upper Wolfjaw, got to the call of Lower Wolfjaw, and then went up. 1/3 of the way is when you get to the cut off, the extra shortcut that takes you down to the AMR, and I just dropped packed there real quick, and then ran up the Lower Wolfjaw.
The beauty of the Lower Great Range, and why it's likely my favorite day hike in the high peaks, is because of the ease going peak to peak. And this was no different today for Jonathan as he cruised along the range, finally getting to Lower Wolfjaw, his 16th high peak of the day, with 9 more to go, single digits. It was at this point where Jonathan's mental fatigue and mental state would be tested, however. Fortunately, a quick phone call gave him the coaching and the pep talk he needed to keep on pushing.
Standing here in the summit of Lower Wolfjaw, and that was rough. Oh, that was just rough. I mean, it was quick, but oh my goodness. I have so much left to do, and I mean, I'm really in my head right now, and but I'm realizing that I just got to keep going and completely ignore the demons in my mind. Thanks, Lucas, for the little pep talk. Once I started going up Lower Wolfjaw, or started coming down Lower Wolfjaw, I realized this is generally where people would be ending their day. And I started to get in my head and was like, man, do I really have this left in me? This is starting to really suck. So I contacted one of my friends, Lucas, who was one of the previous unsupported 46 record holders. And he's like, dude, listen, pain is temporary. This is a one-day thing. You're not going to quit, dude. This is where you grow, right? If you want to grow past this and get past stuff like this in the future, you need to just shut up and remember that when the mind is ready to quit, the body still has 60% left in it. You just need to put one foot in front of the other and just go. Just like every other mountain, you will be there. It just takes some time. So I'm standing on Lower Wolfjaw at 5:43 p.m., only an hour and a half after Gothics. And I start going down. And I'm like, okay, all right. I'm just going to get to my backpack because I have no more communication with the people down at the aid station. And so I'm kind of like 45 minutes to an hour behind when I told them I was going to be there. So I want to get down there as quick as I possibly can so that they're not freaking out. And I start running down and I get down to them in 25 minutes.
When the mind is ready to quit, the body still has 60% left in the tank. It's truly amazing what our bodies can do when we keep our minds in the game. As Jonathan kept moving down Lower Wolfjaw towards the lake road, he was about to be greeted with pure heaven at his aid station. A 7-hour-old pizza and Coca-Cola. You know, pure heaven when you're 17 high peaks into a day, of course.
Booking it down the Wedgebrook Trail now, down to the AMR where I'll be greeted from Noah and Ben. Really looking forward to that pizza. And I'm kind of like an hour and a half behind schedule, so they're probably wondering where I am. So let's get down there. I get down to the aid station at approximately 4:30 p.m. where I'm greeted by Noah Sauceville and Ben LeBlanc. Ben is going to be a pacer. Noah came in to bring me a fresh pizza pie that's 7 hours old, which obviously that's expected. I mean, you had to bring it from the outside. And a nice bottle of Coca-Cola, a chair, and I just sat down, put my feet in the river. And what was really funny is here I am with, you know, my pants or my calf sleeves rolled up and me eating this pizza and drinking this Coke, and there's like people walking the AMR road and they stop and they look at us and it was just like, yo, did these people come out here to just like chill, eat pizza and drink Coke and sit in the river? It's just like a kind of like a redneck moment, I guess you could say. It was really funny. And so I kind of just spent a good amount of time just refreshing everything, gave Noah all the stuff that I didn't need for the remainder of the trip, talked to Ben a little bit, and really got myself just like re-fired up. I felt great. I got all these calories in me, which is what I desperately needed.
There is nothing on planet Earth that can't be made better with a pizza. Am I right? After Jonathan's redneck moment sitting in the river, miles back in the woods drinking Coca-Cola and eating 7-hour-old lukewarm pizza, it was time for the next phase of the hike. And unfortunately for him, this phase includes Blake Peak and Elk Pass. But Blake would be the least of his concerns as the headlamps came back on once again and his stomach started feeling a bit nauseous.
After that aid station, Ben and I just started making our way up through Gilbrook to Colvin. About halfway, actually just before the intersection at Elk Pass to go up to Colvin is about where we turned on headlamps. And I was like, wow, I've been going all day. I am putting my headlamp on again. Like I started with my headlamp, then I turned it off, and now here I am turning it on again. This is bizarre. I've never experienced this. Starting to go up Colvin, I looked over to Ben and I said, dude, I'm not feeling well. Like I feel kind of nauseous. Like I can't, I'm trying to drink my water, which by the way is pumped with caffeinated Tailwind. And he's like, dude, I think you put too much Tailwind in your water. And as we started going up, I started explaining to him what I felt. And he's like, I think you're overhydrated. He's like, have you been sweating or peeing at all today? I'm like, no, not at all. And he's like, how much have you drank? I'm like, at this point, I think I've consumed around 8 liters of water. And he's like, what, dude, you've consumed 8 liters of water and you have like not peed or sweat at all. I'm like, correct. And he's like, yeah, dude, I think your body has too much sodium, too many electrolytes, and it can't flush out and process the water. And I was like, so what do I do? He's like, well, clearly you can't keep drinking your Tailwind, and we don't have any other fresh water. Because I was just like, caffeinated Tailwind, that's what I need. And so it sucked because it felt like I was dehydrated, but I wasn't. I didn't have any cramping. I didn't have any headaches. So I forced myself to do Colvin and Blake out and back, the 4.8, which took us 2 hours. And there was nothing noteworthy or mentionable. It was just grinding, going over, going down, going up, saying, screw you, Blake, and then going back down, going up back to Colvin and going down. And that took 2 hours and 2 minutes. And 2 hours was the goal. And the whole time I did it without drinking water. And it sucked because the first time I ever did Colvin and Blake was without water. But I purposely had to get the fluids to flush out of my body. Started making our way over, running through Elk Pass. I had a second wind. Like I just felt so good as those calories were still kicking in. And I started going up Nipple Top. Going up the Nipple Top, I felt pretty awful. But I knew coming up to it, it was going to be my 19th high peak, which just, I remembered that and I was just like, wow, I only have 6 left, but I still have 6 left, including Nipple Top. And at this point, my body's so fatigued. I'm tired, and I realized, John, if you're still moving, then you shouldn't have any problem moving another 2 hours from now. Because I honestly, I've felt this bad maybe only once ever or twice, and I realized it's much harder to get yourself to feel any more mentally or physically fatigued than this. And so I realized I'm kind of at that low point where it's like, I'm going to feel like this on Nipple Top, I'm going to feel like this on Dial. So at the point, it's not how bad can the type 2 fun get, or if it turns into type 3 fun, it's how long can I stand the type 2 fun, kind of just like torture. How long can I hold out feeling this way for? Got on Nipple Top at 12:20, exactly 2 hours later after Blake, and started making our way down the Dial. Dial is where Ben was going to split off with me. I got the Dial right at midnight, and I'm like, wow, it is all day. It is now starting to become middle of the night. I took a picture of me sprawled out on Dial. I got up, I looked at Ben, and I was like, Ben, thank you for being here and pushing me through. I'm so glad I have people with me on the last half because I definitely wouldn't be able to do this without you guys. And I realized I'm about to go solo after midnight, after 20 high peaks. I am going to go bushwhack off a Dial, the Dix.
After an uneventful out and back to Blake, followed by a trip up the infamously steep Elk Pass to Nipple Top, followed by the hike over to Dial Mountain, it was now midnight as Jonathan stood there looking out into the darkness. Time for a solo post-midnight bushwhack from Dial to Dix Mountain, through the thick woods that make up this section of the high peaks. What could possibly go wrong?
And I've done the bushwhack twice, so I felt pretty good about the trajectory and where to go. I knew it was 1 hour on the dot to go from trail to trail. And so I shook Ben's hand. Actually, I gave him a prolonged hug. And then he went off. He went back to the car, and here I am cruising back down Dial the other direction. And I stand at the base of the bushwhack, and or the entrance of the bushwhack, and I'm like, all right, let's do this. I feel great. Like, I really do. Like, I feel like I can feel the finish line. I can see the finish line, and sleep deprivation has not hit me yet. And so at the aid station, I had them bring me a new headlamp, and this is a much brighter, beefier headlamp. And I turned the music on in my pocket, and I just started whacking.
Moving down now through the bushwhack from Dial to Dix. This guy's just over a mile in length, hopefully about 1 hour on the dot. And yeah, it's 1 a.m, and here I am. Out of all places, I'm here at 1 a.m. But it's a pretty good shot. I've done this a few times, so I'm feeling pretty confident. Just gonna get down this as quick as possible. And Colton's waiting for me. Oh man, he's been waiting there for a while.
Just started going, took my bearing, and started going down, trying to hit the cleanest pockets that I could of vegetation to have the cleanest and most free whack path of least resistance. And crossed the first river, got over, crossed the second river, got to the third river, and an hour later, on the dot, broke out the Dix Range Trail.
And just like that, the 1 hour solo post-midnight bushwhack from Dial to Dix was complete. Great work, Jonathan. Now to climb up to the summit of Dix to begin the final range of the hike. But it's at this point where Jonathan's fatigue and sleep deprivation started to kick in, and things started getting weird.
The whole time going down the bushwhack, I was thinking about Colton. Colton is the next guy that I'm meeting. He's actually been waiting for me at the bottom of the slide, and I tried to communicate with him as well as I could about what time I was going to get there. And well, I got to the trail, and I was feeling really good. And I honestly, retrospectively, realized I was just on this adrenaline rush. I was excited. My senses had to be heightened going through the bushwhack, and I was very wide awake. And so I started traversing up the trail. About 5 minutes up, got to the base of the slide, and lo and behold, there's Colton laying on the ground, kind of like huddled up. And he quoted to me so many times, "Bro, I don't get cold." I told him, "Bro, you should probably bring a light jacket because it's getting pretty chilly." And so he's apparently took a 2-hour nap there. At this point, it's 1:30 in the morning as I'm with him right there at the base of the slide. And he's like, "Hey, dude, it's good to see you. Let's get moving. I'm like, "Yeah, let's get moving." And once I hit the slide and that I met up with him, there was something that just happened in my mind where it's just like it just relaxed, but in a bad way. Where it's like all this adrenaline just now started to kind of flush out of me. Where it's like my brain was like all these heightened senses and everything kind of disappeared. And that is right when the sleep deprivation just started to come in. I've never experienced it like this before. You know, pulling an all-nighter is one thing, but going in to a second night, pulling an all-nighter after doing 20 other high peaks nonstop and experiencing calorie deficiency, water over efficiency, and at this point, I think approximately 21,000 vertical feet of climbing, my brain started to shut off. And if anyone here knows the trail up from Round Pond, that last 1.2 miles is absolutely brutal. And I'm obviously using a lot of muscle in my legs to go up that. And it just, Colton didn't have anything for me, right? I wanted to bring me some water, but he forgot it in the car. But that's okay. I was able to flush out my tailwind water, and I scooped that up with new water in one of the rivers coming off of the bushwhack. So I had fresh water, and I felt it was all, the water was flushed out of me, and so I could start drinking again. And so I started going up the Round Pond Trail there from the slide, the last mile up to the summit of Dix. And as kind of like when you're driving, at first you feel wide awake, and it's like if anyone who's ever driven over the night, before you even realize it, you just, for some reason, tiredness just hits you, and you just, for a second, you black out, and you're just like, whoa, I'm getting tired. That's what happened to me as I was walking. I was walking, and I just blacked out, and it looked like I tripped, but it was just, I fell asleep for a split second as I was walking. And Colton's like, "Dude, you good?" I'm like, I have no idea what just happened. I blacked out for a second. And I was like, "Dude, I'm so tired." And so I was going up still at a decent pace. despite the circumstances. And I just started getting so delirious, so tired. And that's when the hallucinations